Our next presenter is going to be talking to you about The Craft. And I know that this is a movie that means a lot to a lot of you. Please welcome Cassie Wagler.
Hi, thank you. Great to be here. So I am talking today about The Craft. It's a movie. It was made in 1996. It's pretty good / really bad and pretty racist, actually, which is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm just trying to get my notes to stand up straight. Okay, so in case you haven't seen, who hasn't seen The Craft? Oh my God, it's okay. It's basically, it's like a very simple plot. So this like new girl comes to this Catholic high school and she becomes friends with these 3 other girls and they're all into witchcraft and the 4 of them form a coven and they start putting spells on people. And at first it's like really fun and then it's like really fucked up and crazy. And that's what the whole movie is about, basically. So my own sort of like history with this movie is pretty deep and it includes this Halloween costume. But it's actually like really poorly done. Like one person doesn't even have a costume on. And this other friend of mine just came directly from work from this Mexican restaurant that she worked at. And so she has Day of the Dead paint on her face. So I don't know, we didn't do that great of a job, but it was still really fun. And that's just to say that like this movie like goes deep with me. But what I'm here to talk about today is actually something that you may have never really thought about that much with The Craft, and that is the race politics of this movie. On the surface, this movie seems to have like really nice, like liberal politics, like don't be racist, like that's mean, stop it. And I'm going to play you a scene from sort of the beginning of the movie where one of the witches is being like tormented and bullied by this really mean girl at their high school. But then she gets revenge.
Oh, God, look, there is a pubic hair in my brush. Oh, no, wait. That's just one of Rochelle's little nappy hairs.
Why are you doing this to me, Laura? Do you think you're funny?
You really want to know why?
Yes, I really want to know why.
Because I don't like Negroids. Sorry.
Don't worry, she'll get her back. Here she comes. She's gonna fuck her up. Yep.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So the lesson here, of course, is don't be racist, because then your hair will fall out. Which is why there's so many bald Republicans. But of course, we know that racism is so much more than this. It's so much more than just racial slurs or like, I don't like you because you're that race. It's our entire society and how it functions in our history. It's about who has value in our society, who's considered good, who's considered bad, who's considered beautiful, who's considered dangerous. And it goes really deep, and so does this movie, actually, which you didn't even know. So, The Craft is basically a showdown between like these 2 different groups. There's the good witches, swathed in light, lots of candles, white clothes, light brown hair, and the bad witches. And they're kind of in this like sort of showdown for the whole movie. So you might want to call this bad witches versus good witches, but you could also call it bad magic versus good magic, or you could call it black magic versus white magic. And I'm doing this because I'm trying to say that we should problematize these words and not just say black magic and white magic. But basically we have one group, the white magic group, that's like sort of harmless and lovely and earthy. And this other group that's very dangerous and deviant and needs to be controlled, right? And there's this whole history of thinking about women who are deviant and magical and sort of outside of the bounds of society and needing to control them. This history goes really, really, really deep. This is everything I know about this comes from this book, and this book is the shit, and you should read it. It's so good. It's by this woman, Silvia Federici. It's called Caliban and the Witch, and in this book she talks about the European witch hunts, and basically she says that this wasn't just about religion. So the narrative is like, oh, there were these people practicing witchcraft, and all these religious people wanted to persecute them, but she says it's actually not about that at all. It's about politics and it's about economics, and it's about social control. So here she says, hundreds of thousands of women could not have been massacred and subjected to the cruelest tortures unless they posed a challenge to this power structure. So this is about containing this group of women who are really dangerous to society. So who were they? Who are these dangerous, dangerous, witchy women? The first thing is that they're poor. They're very, very poor. They probably don't have a man who's supporting them. They're on their own. They're sort of like outside of the accepted bounds of capitalism in that way. The second is that they are sexy and they love it. They love doing things with their body that makes them feel good. They're sexual people. So there was a saying that said, a prostitute when young, a witch when old. This connotation between women who have autonomy over their sexuality. And also these sexually forward women were considered very dangerous in the society because they could sort of manipulate men with their sexual prowess. And they were really going to undermine society because men could all of a sudden just do crazy things because of sex. So, and also one of the very interesting things that a couple of other people have talked about is that a lot of the women who were accused of witchcraft were actually midwives. And one of the things midwives did during this time was they helped women control their own fertility and reproduction. And at this time, European sort of countries were moving towards capitalism. They were moving towards industrialization. And the elites, the power structure, was very concerned about having a large enough workforce. And they didn't want anybody to be doing anything that controlled their fertility. They just wanted their population to increase so they had enough workers. So these midwives were very, very dangerous to their capitalist aspirations. And they were sort of needed to be controlled and contained. Okay, so this is the witches checklist that I created that Silvia Federici has. So witches, poor, sexual. They threaten capitalism because they let women control their reproductivity. And in the case of the New World, non-white. So any non-white person is considered to be potentially a witch. So I would like you to keep this checklist in mind as we go back to The Craft, 1996 teen flick movie, and how this sort of plays out in The Craft. The main good witch is Sarah. First of all, I would like you to know that she does not have sex premaritally. She's not into that. She's not a slut at all. She's also very sort of affluent. There's her white dad and her white stepmom and this beautiful house that she lives in. So she's this rich sort of beautiful girl who doesn't give it up. So she's a good witch. She does not have any of the checks on the checkmark list. And then we have her opposite, her antagonist in the movie, and that's Nancy. And first of all, Nancy is very sexual, and she's actually the only character that we see sort of embodying her own sexuality. So I'm just gonna play you a clip of Nancy being sexy.
Well, you see the one on the right? She's a major slut. I mean, I don't know from experience or anything, but...
Good. Get this.
Stop.
In the mood.
Not to get my dick bitten off.
Know what makes you think that's what I want to do?
Go away. What the...
Make love to me, Chris.
But they actually don't. Okay, so Nancy's sexual, and yeah, that's good. We should celebrate that. But in the movie, they do not. Nancy also is poor, and this is made to be a very strong contrast to the other characters in the movie.
Come on.
We can almost see through this thing.
Leave me alone! Jesus! Supposed to act like a father to the girl.
Ooh, I ain't her father.
Thank God.
Her father's the one who paid you the $50 for a quick bang in the back seat.
Hey! This is nice.
Bedroom.
Hi there. So pretty. I'm so glad you could come and see our apartment. We have an apartment.
So Nancy actually kills her stepdad, the one who's like poking at her robe. She causes him to have a heart attack and he dies. And then he has this life insurance policy and her mom get all the money. And then they get an apartment. And so it's basically this like story of like this woman causing the death of a man to get access to money. She's very much this like threat to the traditional ways that money circulates through patriarchy, right? So she is totally hitting up all the parts on the checklist. Also, I think it's really important to point out that the character of Nancy is played by an actress named Fairuza Balk, who is no way interpreted as being like black, but she's definitely has this, she could be interpreted as sort of like an ethnic person that we don't necessarily know what ethnicity they are. And in real life, this actress her heritage is American Indian, she's Cherokee and Blackfoot, and also Roma. And so Fairuza Balk as this character is like kind of like we don't really exactly know what ethnicity she is, and it's kind of like adding to this idea of her as being potentially like having these associations that we have with darkness or et cetera, et cetera. So the movie like does this very strange thing where at the beginning of the movie, these women who are considered very like defiant and very deviant, they are like embracing, they're very much like outsider status, but then the movie does this like total crazy about turn, and at the end of the movie, we end up taking this very like defiant, deviant female character, and we actually end up containing her and enslaving her and like putting her in chains. It's a really like violent sort of thing to do to this character, and I feel particularly like strongly kind of horrible about this today, thinking of just about like the actual like real ramifications of thinking that a group of people are dangerous and thinking that a group of people are like not good or not moral. However, I would like to offer another reading of this, which will make you feel a little bit better about this movie, which I know you all really like, which is to say that even though we have a movie that has these sort of like really, really repressive ideas about race and gender, it's not necessarily how people are going to read it. So in this case of The Craft, there's a few different readings you could have. You could have the like preferred reading, which is what the producers of the movie are trying to give you, which is to say like, Nancy is really freaky, guys. And yeah, that girl was racist and that guy was like a date rapist, but they really like went too far and they shouldn't have like done that to them. This is kind of like the dominant reading that the film would like you to have. Then there's another reading you could have, which is negotiated, which is like some things are good, some things are bad, I don't know, kind of cool, kind of not. And then there's the reading that I think a lot of people have, a lot of teen girls have, which is the oppositional reading, which is to say, like, we really love Nancy. She's so cool. We really like her. We think that those people deserve that. It was horrible. And I think that this is the reading that I had. And as I was sort of like trolling around the internet, I found that there's a lot of like fan art and like different like people writing about how great Nancy was and like Nancy's so great. And this girl is like, I got my nose pierced because of her. I love her. And then like there's people like making these like sparkly pins on Etsy, and it's sold. This is sold out. I tried to buy it. It's sold out. Everybody wants it. So even though Nancy is like in the movie, she's like such a bad person, like in real life, she's like a hero. She's like a hero to a lot of us, and she's like really, really, really valued and really, really, really special. So I would just like to say, long live Fairuza Balk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cassie.